Hey guys, it's Calysta. I wanted to chat with you guys around something that I feel like is somewhat controversial in that everyone has a very different viewpoint on it, and I've seen quite a few discussions in various guilds that I've been in Lords Mobile discussing kind of the pros and the cons of hiving. So if you're new to the game, you may not know what that is, although I feel like you probably do. That's one of the very first things that you'll notice new players do is hive together. So let's think about the description for now. So what is a hive? So a hive is going to be typically a group of 15 or more castles clustered together. We also have things that are kind of like hives. So if you see, 5 to, let's say, for the sake of argument, 14 castles together, not big enough for it to be considered a true hive, but it's absolutely a cluster. And then you'll see, sometimes you see 2 or 3 castles kind of together, spread out throughout the map, and then you're going to have your kind of lone wolves that are by themselves. Now, I would say my opinion on whether or not I agree with hiving will absolutely vary. So I can show you guys a hive, my hive at the moment, which is the hive of my guild. You can kind of see that's what a hive, that is a hive right there, right? It's pretty big. Tons of people are clustered together. Typically hives are going to be right by your base, so the center of the map. You will tend to see hives there, right? Because you can see kind of our hive is there, and if we scroll down, you're going to be able to see another hive. So you can see another hive, and you'll see, just spread out throughout, right? Like usually clustered around the main base, and that's typically where you'll see some of the stronger alliances kind of together. Now, what are the perks of having a hive? So the obvious perks of having a hive, and this is kind of like a funky little cluster, right? You can see there. So what are the points of having a hive? Typically a hive is going to be comprised of one guild, although I have seen in other kingdoms kind of hybrid hives. So you're going to see like the alts kind of stuck in with the mains, and alliances are kind of all together, and that's totally fine. But I would say the reason that people tend to hive together are kind of multi-pronged. So the first one is it's really easy to share resources this way, right? So if somebody needs something and they're in the hive, it is incredibly simple to get it to them. You don't have to wait a lot, especially if you're going to be dumping, let's say 20 million, wood on someone. It's very easy to do it if you're super close and everyone is together. Also, if someone is going to be rallied, let's say their shield drops and they're going to be rallied or attacked, the rest of the hive has line of sight. Now, if they're going to be rallied, everyone will be getting a notification in the game, so they can kind of tell that way. But if they're going to be soloed, and this is so true for some of the smaller hives and the smaller guilds, and when I mean smaller, I don't mean necessarily in terms of size, but just in terms of might. Solo attacks can be pretty devastating. If you're in the 30 to 20 million might, you can easily be zeroed. So having the hive around you can be helpful because it's an extra pair of eyes. More people to be like, oh my god, you're gonna be solo, and maybe they can send reinforcements if you have some stronger players in your guild. Now, what are the downsides to being in this type of setup? And I feel like the downside is I need to split it up depending on the type of guild that you're in. So if you're in a guild that is small to medium sized via might, so the majority of your members are, let's say, around 50 million or under, a hive may not be the best thing for you, and this is why. It becomes very easy for somebody like me, and I will totally own this, for somebody like me to land smack dab in the middle. Somebody leaves, decides to go farm or do whatever, leaves a hole in the hive. I port right in that hole, and I send all 6 armies, and I just start, raiding you guys. And this happens all the time. Now, you guys could rally me, and you would probably be sending me a lot of T3 against the millions of T3 that I have, and I have home court advantage, right? Because you're attacking me, I probably would win the rally, you guys would be getting losses. It doesn't make sense. I don't recommend, if you're small to medium, to cluster this way. Unless you are meticulous about hiding and sheltering your troops or shielding, right? Or And you're gonna see some of the guys in my guild, right? Not everybody is shielded, but these guys are big, right? So if you think you can eat 3 rallies and be totally fine, you probably don't need to shield, right? So we're talking about, you know, somebody like this. I mean, billion mites, right? At my level right now, I am at 300 million might. I still need to shield because we're in an active war, and I might be taking in a 10-minute span potentially 2 or 3 rallies. They would try to fill my hospital very quickly. Would I be able to not lose all my troops? Yeah, but I would be taking tremendous damage, right? So you want to keep that in mind. Now, if you're small to medium, do I recommend this for the sake of RS transfer and being able to tell each other, hey, so-and-so is being soloed? I still wouldn't recommend it. I don't think the pros outweigh the cons in this situation. If you're a large, strong guild and you can tell how you are kind of across your kingdom, then maybe it makes sense, right? Because it's like if everybody is amazing at shielding, if everyone is really good about hiding and sheltering their troops and can easily and effectively hide everyone in their shelter, then you should be okay. But I would say I have tended, and this is probably the experience that I had starting in the game, where we had the entire kingdom declare war on us, and my entire guild had to kind of disperse across the map to make it really hard to find every single one of us and zero us. I tend to not be down with the hives all that much. Like, I will port there for a specific amount of time. It's a lot more efficient if you're rallying darkness and things like that to be near the hive. So I will spend a lot, I guess, in like in specific teleports to specifically port to a location, maybe stay a day and then leave. I just have this big fear of being in these hives just based on what I've seen, even though right now it would be somewhat safe. Although I will say, and this is another thing, if you're in a big guild and you're in active war, which we are right now, and you're hived, let's say you're 10 minutes late popping your shield, and you have to shield. Let's say you have 4 million troops, there's no way to hide them. If you're 4 minutes late popping your shield, you could be pretty screwed because your enemy is going to be constantly looking at your hive, right? So it's such an easy place for your enemy to bookmark and consistently have people checking to see if somebody's shield is dropped. Now, we've done that to other people too. They've done it to us. So again, it's one of those things where, do the pros outweigh the cons? You really have to think about this for yourself. You have to think about the situation that your kingdom is in. Are you in an active war? I will also say, if you're not in an active war, do not assume you won't be by the time you wake up. I've seen this happen in multiple kingdoms. It happened in our kingdom where we weren't necessarily overly worried about anyone in particular, and overnight a rival guild decided to migrate over and start zeroing everybody that was unshielded, right? So you don't want to get complacent here. This is a war game, let's not forget that. And I see a lot of kingdoms out there that get really comfortable in their peace, and that peace can be shattered in a matter of hours, right? So if you get a concentrated effort from a rival guild, they have the element of surprise. They could start zeroing a ton of your members. And again, you're making it that much easier by clustering all together. There is no search. They don't need to spend time looking for you. They don't need to spend teleports looking for you. They can just teleport right next to your hive and just pick off everyone that's unshielded, right? So you want to think about that a little bit. In general, my recommendation is, if you are incredibly careful and super good about shielding and sheltering, maybe the hive will work. But if you're busy and sometimes you forget and sometimes you're a little bit late, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. I would recommend like porting in and porting out. So it really depends. It really depends on you. It depends on your hive. Some guilds out there do require you to be hived together. I know that. I have yet to find a guild that's required me to do it. I tend to come in for the action and then leave. Again, it's one of those things where I just feel safer doing so, but it is an individual choice. There are pros and cons. I could be soloed and nobody would know. Because nobody would be watching, right? Unless somebody posted the chords in world chatter. So that is another risk that I'm taking by not being in the hive. Again, This is totally up to you. Wanted to give you guys my 2 cents. Would love some feedback on this one because I feel like I've heard every argument under the sun. I'm so curious to kind of hear what you guys think. If you wouldn't mind putting your suggestions and comments below, would totally appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.